You're tighter? Absolutely tighter. Love it. I think your deck is more engaging.
Thank you.
I think that the practicality still is missing.
Well, we went from
Yeah, no, and this isn't a WTF. It's just this is the progression you've got this
Alright.
week is to get the practicality in more. Is to with the practicalities it'll come more. Why did I spend 15K on you? I don't know what you've given me for my 15K yet. You've teased it, but you're not hitting it harder.
So
You know what I'm saying?
Like an action steps.
Maybe a little of that, but it's you have to. You gave me 100 names, yay. How's that gonna help me make 15 grand or more? And I'm not saying it's a math problem to present to them, but it's here. Hit your first. Come on, see where we go with this. This is a little bit of okay, all the way back, all the way back. Okay, you know this is your lead up. Hey, Dana, we're so glad you're back. You know, when we connected, I think you saw the progress that we were making, and it's been great. Really, what we've done is not only we have learned so much about the plant giving world and the fundraising world because we've had the opportunity to talk to about 7 experts in the industry, and these are folks not only in DC or in Philadelphia, so we have a good sense of what goes on in our region. But we tapped into development experts down in DC and other parts of the country, so we can give you a bigger sense of what best practices are in these areas. And these are folks who have built programs and are successful with programs and they're at the C-level in their organizations. So we think our research has really been an interesting exploration for us that gives us tangible things you can go do starting tomorrow.
Okay.
Keep going. Now let's talk about where we're going to go. This is the agenda. Nothing should surprise you. I think you can get rid of the sub-bullets. It's just distracting personally. You know, we're going to talk about the challenges and what brought us together. We're going to talk about the key findings for our 2 deliverables, bringing in that research that we've done. Those experts that we've talked to that have the things that can go be, you know, the practicality element. It was so important for us that there be action steps and resources you can take and go use. This is not a theoretical exercise. This is a practical exercise in raising money to go help save animals and put them in concert with families who need that bond and what the connection between human and animal creates not only for an individual, but for our family, for our communities, and all of that. Thank you. Then we'll go through and we'll tie it all together, but more importantly, we'll spend time going back and forth because we have information, there may be a question you have. What matters here? What matters here is that you get your questions answered. Maybe there's a place where your question will lead us to give you some information that might not be in our report. And that dialogue is what creates the value to the final deliverable. Not just a stupid piece of paper that anybody could go write by looking at the AFP website with somebody's stolen password for a couple of days. Hit it. So the challenge is, obviously, you have a database. What are you going to do with it? You've got to raise money. You have to raise more money than you did yesterday or you're going to die. You know, grow or die. It's just that simple. So we need to help you grow that database. We need to also give you tangible recommendations. I'm using tangible and practical and actionable every time I can get it into a sentence. And the plan giving opportunities, bringing that research in, talking to you about 3 pillars that I'm going to talk about in a minute about how you can grow your program. A little more direct, a little more to the point, a couple keywords the entire time. A little more of a sell job. Keep going. So this is the deliverables. This is what we created in that statement of work, and we so appreciate you working for us. Because, you know, it was a little bit of an interesting experiment as we all figured out how this team came together, how we interfaced with you. And it was a great learning experience for us, and we thank you for bearing with us as we sorted it all out. But when you came into the picture, and thank you for that, your leadership, we came up with these, the plan giving professionals list and the donor outreach strategy. I wish I could go to the second because the second's got a lot more sizzle, a lot more excitement, but that first one is the foundation that you might not see the perfect return on today, but if you take what we gave you, what we have in our final report, and use the resources and step-by-step roadmap that your volunteers can just slide into, this is what builds the success a year down the road, 2 years down the road, sustainable giving down the road. That was kind of fun. So as we looked at it, we really looked at 2 buckets here. The trust and estate attorneys. and the financial advisors. I'll tell you, trusted estate attorneys, hell of a lot easier to find. Get your inflection up and down. A hell of a lot easier to find. We've got over 100. It's a good starting point. It's people to go out to, and let's be honest though, you need more. There's only so much we can do, but what we can do is make sure you have the roadmap to keep growing in, and that's what we've done. There's step-by-step steps that your volunteers, perhaps another student team, a co-op, whatever, can carry with that should take it from 100 to 200 to 1,000. There's no reason this list can't grow now. We think we've cracked the nut that was the hardest part of understanding how to do it. And then the financial advisors. This is where you have a strategic question to answer for yourself, Dana, and for your organization. This is a tougher nut to crack. We have some stats, and I'll give you a quick overview of it. I think your point on how to do it was valuable. I just think you have to do it quicker and faster. But you also have to decide. There's pay-to-play resources, and yeah, it costs money. But you can do a financial analysis that if you're going to make more than you spend, is it a bad thing? But those are strategic questions that you could tackle in a long-term fundraising plan that might be worthwhile for the organization to consider down the road. So as we built the strategy, we went back to our panel of experts. And they really wanted us to hone in on 3 things. And when you talk to 7 people, and you talk to 7 people that aren't in the same room, that aren't even colleagues in the same area, and you start seeing themes, you know you're on to something. Playing off the fact that these are universals. These are not just Philly. This is best practices. And then when you couple it with our literature research, as we went on the best practices websites where that community goes for information, extending our reach for experts, we came up with 3 things. Referral program. As you market this more and more, you're going to get people coming in the door. Key best practice. Key. 1 lawyer. How do you handle that intake? That one person, because it spawns off and you want it for whatever reason. A gift acceptance policy. This is totally counterintuitive. You want to go raise money. And here I am telling you to come up with a policy about what you'll take and what you won't take. But it's important. And it's important because you need to answer that question, because that question will drive your marketing. That question will drive the referrals you get so that there's not lost opportunities. That question will drive your research and your outreach efforts as you look at your board of directors and decide who the heck to ask to support you in this journey. Every expert we ask said you have to have this advocate, or you can't answer key, you can't meet the challenge at key pivot points in building a plan giving program. And the relationship building. This is a high-touch environment. I mean, think of yourself, think of any of us. You're asking a person to do what is one of the biggest things they're going to do in their lives. Pass on part of their estate. This isn't about money. It's really not. It's about legacy. It's about making a statement about who these people were during their time on this planet. They make this decision a hell of a lot more significantly than writing a check around Christmas time for a tax break. It's a relationship. And if you don't have that relationship, if you don't get goosebumps as you're explaining this, you did not sell it, right? Because I'm getting them right now. It's about building the relationship, and best practices. Our literature research says there's 10% of the people. Your top 10%, those are your prospects. I'd encourage you to challenge yourself and your board to visit all of them. Or at least reach out to them in some way. God, I hope it's a manageable number in the coming year. And then segmenting. You were kind enough to share your database fields with us. We've put 13 recommendations. It's just me. We've put 13 recommendations in our report about best practices, and we've tied them directly to actionable steps you can take with your database. 2 of them that I really think hit home are X. With the best practice is this, and here's what we think you can do, and here's why we think it's good, and why. Here was the best practice to the recommendation to the action, and that's what you need to do. Next. But let's be at the end. We're so appreciative because not only do we believe this report which outlines is the